ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So with all your blessings, I would like to first summarize the remaining portion of previous chapter, chapter 23, and then summarize first few verses of chapter 24. So I would just briefly summarize the lineage. As we see that in 9th canto, the first 13 chapters they describe the dynasty of sun god. Then sun god, then Vaivaswata Manu is his son, and then in that lineage we also hear the pastime of Ambarish Maharaj, and after that till the advent of Lord Ramachandra, who also appeared in the Sun dynasty, and also Nimi, he is also belonging to Sun dynasty. So these are first 13 chapters, and rest of the chapters, like rest 11 chapters, they describe the dynasty of moon god or moon dynasty of 9th canto, I'm sorry. So it begins with the moon god begetting Buddha begetting Ila begetting Aila, that is Pururava. So we also hear the pastime of Pururava in these later chapters, and after Pururava we also hear the pastime of Yayati and his interaction with Devayani and how he attains liberation, etc. And Yayati's 5 sons, Yadu, Puru, Dryu, Turvasu and Anu. So their lineage is explained in last 2, 3, 4 chapters of 9th canto. So I would just mention few prominent kings in the dynasty of Yayati. So there is one king who is known as Kartavira Arjun, and he receives instruction from Dattatreya, one of the incarnations of Lord. So he is one prominent among them. Also there is also pastime of Jamaka in previous chapter. So these two are notable kings. So now I'll skip to the next chapter here, chapter 24. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the title because the 9th chapter, this particular chapter, prepares us for advent of Lord Krishna, prepares us for the sweet smiling lotus face of Krishna, which is the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and how this will lead to will be discussed by discussing the dynasty of Yadu and how it finally comes to Shura, then Vasudeva, and then Krishna. So I'll just quickly mention that in this dynasty, Yadu's dynasty, there are 3 prominent kings by whose name the whole dynasty is known as Yadava. Because of Yadu, the dynasty is known as Yadava. Then another king was Madhu, because of which the whole dynasty is known as Madhava. Therefore, one of the meanings of Madhava is one who belongs to Madhu dynasty. So therefore, sometimes Krishna, Balaram, both are called Madhavas. Madhava, Yadava, Madhava, and Vrishni, Varshneya. Vrishni is another king in the same dynasty. So because of these 3 prominent kings, they are known by their ancestors. Alright, so this is we come to a point where also there are few mentions of other kings like Shvafalka, whose son was Akrura, like that. So those were associates of Krishna. The different Yadavas, they are also there in this chapter. So also we come to know that there was Ahuka, the king Ahuka had a son Devaka, and like that. And Devaka had many daughters. One of them was Devaki. Okay, Devaka and Ugrasen were brothers. Ugrasen's son is Kamsa, Devaka's son is Devaki. Daughter is Devaki. So like that. So that's how they were cousins. Kamsa and Devaki were cousin brother sisters. So then there was Devamidha. Devamidha's son was Shura, and Shura Sena's son was Vasudeva, and he had 9 other sons also, but Vasudeva was prominent among them, and he had 5 daughters, but prominent among them was Kunti. So Kunti and Vasudeva, like that, they have same mother father, who is Shura Sen. But Kunti was given in adoption to, her name was Prutha, but she was given to this king Kunti Bhoj, Kunti, therefore her name also became Kunti. And today we'll read about her. And once she served Durvasa Muni very nicely in her young age, when she was not even married, and Durvasa Muni became very pleased with her service. So Durvasa Muni, he is very difficult to please, but if one pleases him, he gives all benedictions. Actually speaking, no, actually he is very easy to angered and very easy to be pleased if one behaves properly with him. So therefore he gives her a benediction that I will give you a mantra by which you can call any devata for you. He will come to fulfill your desires. And Kunti Devi, although did not know how it works, had a curiosity of how, let me just try this mantra on Surya Dev and let me see if he actually comes. And that's how she invoked Surya Dev with her mantra, and actually Surya Dev appeared before her. So Durvas Muni's mantra had the power. So then he asked her for benediction, and Kunti Devi said, no, I was simply examining the effectiveness of this mystic power. I am sorry that I have called you unnecessarily. Now please you can go back, she is saying. So actually it's for demigods, it's against, or let's say it's belittling their position if they are called to some place without reason. What to speak of demigods? Even some minister is called somewhere, and if you tell him, no, there is no opening or anything, we just called you, now you can go back. So we have to then face the wrath of that minister maybe. So then what to speak of demigod like Surya? So he said, no. So today we will read this verse. Amogham deva sandarsham adadhetva ichatmajam yoniryatha na dushyeta kartaham te sumadhyame. Amogham, without failure. Deva darshanam, meeting with the demigods. Adadhe, I shall give. Tvai, unto you. Cha, also. Atmajam, a son. Yoni, the source of birth. Yatha, as. Na, not. Dushyeta, becomes polluted. Karta, shall arrange. Aham, I. Te, unto you. Sumadhyame, O beautiful girl. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The Sun God said, O beautiful Prutha, your meeting with the demigods cannot be fruitless. Therefore, let me place my seed in your womb so that you may bear a son. I shall arrange to keep your virginity intact since you are still an unmarried girl. Purport. According to Vedic civilization, if a girl gives birth to a child before she is married, no one will marry her. Therefore, although the sun god, after appearing before Prutha, wanted to give her a child, Prutha hesitated because she was still unmarried. To keep her virginity undisturbed, the sun god arranged to give her a child that came from her ear, and therefore the child was known as Karna. The custom is that a girl should be married akshata yoni, that is, with her virginity undisturbed. A girl should never bear a child before her marriage. So today we'll try to discuss something from this purport. First of all, Prabhupada is emphasizing the purity of a girl even before and after marriage. So this, as Prabhupada mentioned, in all circumstances, purity is the force. Even in devotional life we see purity is the force. Even in householder life we see that purity is the force. And therefore all of our acharyas and all the teachings of Bhagavatam, they emphasize this, as we hear in Rishabdeva's teaching, where the first instruction that he gives to his sons is Nayam deho deha bhajam naruloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujame. This body, this human birth is not meant to be used like dogs and hogs, for sense gratification, because such sense gratification is available in other species of life also. But then what should it be used for? Shuddheta yasmat brahma saukyam tvanantam tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam. Therefore we should perform this austerity of maintaining the purity. And what will happen by maintaining the purity? One will get the unlimited access to the unlimited pleasure of the spiritual world. That's the outcome of, that's the reward of performing this austerity. It's not a dry austerity. The rewards are the unlimited happiness in spiritual world. Although one may not desire any happiness for himself, but Krishna will force that happiness upon the soul who is trying to sincerely serve him with pure devotion. So we see many pastimes in various scriptures about how this purity is a force. There is one pastime in Mahabharata where there is one saint, his name is Kaushika, and who is very austere. He is a rishi and is very austere. He is just living on the bank of a river, and he was drying his cloth in the air, like and some bird just flew by and it dropped the excreta on his, I don't know whether on his cloth or on his face, but he became extremely angry at the bird and he looked at the flying bird with anger, and that bird was just reduced to ashes because of his anger. And he felt, because he was a sadhu, he was a saint, he felt little bad that, oh, why did this happen? Why did I not control anger like that? But at the same time, it's very interesting. At the same time, he felt little pride inside his heart that, oh, all right, but just see what my austerity, with my austerity, I am able to, burn a bird flying in the sky. Like, that's how he was thinking. And then it was a time for Madhukari, begging alms. So he went to one householder's house, and the Gruhini, or the woman, the wife, was serving prasad to her husband. And this Kaushik Rishi, he went to beg, and he called for her, Om Bhavati Bhiksham Dehi, give me some alms. So she said, wait, I'll just come in few moments. So Kaushik Muni again became very intolerant. He said, how dare you? How can you make me wait? So when she came out, she came with the alms actually. And he just looked very angrily at her also. And that woman said, don't look at me like this. I'm not that bird. And this Rishi was very shocked. He said, how did she come to know about that bird incident? And he just fell at her feet and he said, how did you know all that? So she said, just like you, because of your austerities, you got mystic powers. I, just by my serving husband in chastity, I got my mystic powers. I got my sources too. She said, it is my duty to, my husband was there, taking prasad, so I had my duty to complete, and therefore I know. So then this Kaushik Rishi says, oh, please instruct me, you are like my guru. Then she says that, no, you go to this one butcher, he will give you instructions. So he is again more shocked. He says, I am a sadhu, should I go to a butcher for instructions? Like that. So actually this is Dharma Vyad. This butcher is not ordinary butcher, he is a Dharma Vyad. Because of some offense, he had to take birth in the family of a butcher. But he is a very great soul, and he is not eating meat or anything, but he just had to undergo the term of the curse from his previous life. So then Dharma Vyad instructs him like that. The whole point is that purity is the force, how this woman, just by being chaste to her husband, serving her husband so nicely, developed a power even to overwhelm a great sage like Kaushika Rishi. There is another incident which is also mentioned in Puranas, and which even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the last chapter of Antya Leela mentions, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of Radharani saying that for Krishna I am ready to serve even the personalities I envy, like other gopis. If Krishna wants to give me distress by being with other gopis, I am just fine with that. His happiness is my happiness. So that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood is. Not only that, I will tolerate Krishna being with other gopis. If other gopis are pleasing Krishna, I am ready to become their maid servant and ask her to please serve Krishna and give pleasure to Krishna, and that will be my happiness. That's what Radharani says. And then she cites one reference. She says that Kushti Viprera Ramani Pativrata Shiromani. Jai Shri Shri Gaurnita Bhagwan ki jai. Shri Shri Krishna Balram, Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar Lalita Vishakha ki jai. Kushti Viprera Ramani Pativrata Shiromani Pati lagi kaila veshar seva Stambila sure ragati jiyaila mritapati Tushta kaila mukhyati na deva. So she says, she's citing one very chaste lady who happens to be a wife of a leper Brahmana. So this leper Brahmana, although he has a leprosy, he is attached to one prostitute, and he doesn't have money to pay for the prostitute. So his wife, she understands that her husband wants to associate with this prostitute. So she goes to the house of this prostitute and says that I will become your maid servant. My husband doesn't have money to pay you, so I will become your servant. So you please satisfy him, like that. And then actually that day is supposed to be the death. I mean, the death was written on the in the destiny of that Brahmana, and she comes to know about it. And it is mentioned that by the next day morning, her husband will die. And then she says, all right, then sun will not even rise tomorrow. So like that. And next day, sun couldn't rise, like, because of her great power of her purity and chastity. And in fact, all the three demigods, like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, had to come and give her blessings and make her dead husband alive. You know, Stambila Suryaragati, Jyaila Mritapati, Tushtakaila Mukhyatina Deva. And that is how she satisfied all three demigods. So this incident is mentioned by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So that is another reason. So this, one may ask why this sun god has insisted upon giving Prutha this son named Karna. So there is a background story behind it. Karna was actually a demon in his previous life. His name was Durmada, and he performed austerities. And after performing austerities, he got a benediction of having 1,000 kavacha or 1,000 shields to protect himself from demigods. So and he also asked for a benediction that whoever breaks my shield has to die. So he knew that nobody, can have can have his 1,000 shields broken. Only after last shield is broken he could be killed, like that. And then Naranarayan Rishi, they take up this task. So while Nara is fighting with this Sahasra Kavach, Narayan is doing tapasya. When one shield is broken, then Nara will fall unconscious and Narayan will bring him to life by austerities, by performance of austerities. Then Narayan will fight with this Sahasra Kavach and Nara will perform austerities. So like that 999 shields were broken of Sahasra Kavach, and only last shield was remaining, and this Sahasra Kavach just flees away from Naranarayan. And he takes shelter of sun god. He says, oh, please give shelter to me. This is my last kavach remaining. And then sun god had to give shelter to him, because every kshatriya has to give shelter to those who are surrendered. So, but he was like a burden on sun god, so he wanted to dump him somewhere, like, as soon as possible. So now this time he took this opportunity that, okay, now I am called, just let me get relieved of this demon, like, and then he gave that son to Kunti Devi, and who was finally same Naranarayan Rishi in their original form as Krishna and Arjuna. They finally became the cause of death of Karna later on. So here it also mentions that he was known as Karna because he was born from her ear, like that, because sun god wanted to keep her virginity and purity intact. So it should be noted that the impregnation can happen in 5 different ways. In fact, 6. The appearance or birth can take place in 6 different ways. This is in so the scriptures mention that demigods and higher than them, they have this power. One birth we know is by actual physical union between man and woman. Then there is another birth where simply by touching the woman is impregnated. Then there is third way in which simply by giving words that I will give you a child, simply those words will impregnate the soul into the body of the woman. Also, then one is by meditation. Simply by meditating that. One is by glancing. Simply by glancing, demigods and those who are higher than demigods, they can impregnate simply by glancing. And then last is simply by meditation. One can bring a soul and transfer it to the woman's heart or the womb, like that. And last one doesn't even require a couple, like So we will see few examples, like how Brahmaji came from the lotus navel of Lord Vishnu. Prabhupada mentions that he doesn't even require the help of Lakshmi ji for this. Then glancing, we see that Mahavishnu glances at the Prakriti, and all of us, all the jivas are impregnated into the Prakriti, and like that. Meditation, we see that that Vasudev, he meditated on Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna first appeared in his heart, and by his supreme will, he transferred himself from heart of Vasudev to heart of Devaki. Also similar is the case with Nanda and Yashoda, where Yashoda Maya gave birth to Krishna. And also we see in the case of Shachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra, where Lord Chaitanya first appeared in the heart of Jagannath Mishra, and from his heart he was transferred to the heart of Shachi Devi. So it is mentioned that such Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjanam. So one who understands the transcendental birth and activities of the Lord doesn't have to take birth again in this world, but goes back home, back to Godhead. Tattvataha means the previous 4 verses, starting with Ajopi san navyayatma bhutaram ishwaropi san prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atma mayaya. How Krishna appears by his own divine will. He doesn't take birth like common living entities. He comes by his Atma Maya, expanding his internal potency. He makes his appearance. And then the reason of his appearance is Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyam. Whenever there is predominant rise of irreligion and decline of religion, then to establish religion, to protect the devotees and to annihilate the miscreants, I appear yuge yuge. It's very interesting. Sambhavami yuge yuge. Lochandas Thakur gives another meaning, hidden meaning behind this. Sambhavami yuge yuge. In his Chaitanya Mangal, he mentions that Krishna is indirectly hinting here by saying yuge yuge. He is hinting that I, that means Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are the sources of all incarnations. That means they are personally Swayam Bhagavan. So how yuge yuge? Yuga also means couple. So a couple, in a couplet, Yuga, I appear. And what is that couplet? The last part of Dwapara and the Dwapara Kali Sandhya, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself appears. So it is important to note that Krishna appears by his own divine will. And therefore, it is also for sadhakas, it is important that one message any practitioner can learn from here is that how to maintain our purity of consciousness or purity of desires. So seeing our purity of desires, Krishna will, out of his own sweet will, appear in our heart. It is mentioned by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that when Devaki was fearful of Kamsa, then 6 of her children were killed by Kamsa. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions that, and after that, Balramji appears in her womb, and once he is transferred to Rohini Devi's womb, then Krishna appears. So there is a spiritual significance, there is another significance to this also. In this chronology it happened. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions that Devaki is devotional service and Kamsa is the fear of material existence. So devotee have to be fearful of material existence. And once a devotee is in a proper healthy way fearful of Maya, then what will happen? The 6 anarthas will be destroyed from the heart: lust, anger, greed, etc. And then what will happen? The personification of service to Krishna, that is Balramji, will appear in one's heart. And once he appears, he is making everything pure and sanctified. Just like we know that wherever there is temple is opened or deities are to be installed, first we install Ananta Shesha, right? And then the deities are installed. So similarly, Balramji, or personification of service, he first appears in the heart and then Krishna makes his appearance, like that. And Krishna can make his appearance in any way. So therefore, in all our devotional practices, it is important to be fearful of Maya in a healthy way in a sense that one need not be obsessed with this fear, but one has to take the right precautions, avoid the allurement of Maya. And then when our service becomes purified, then Krishna, it is mentioned that Atah Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyaihi sevon mukhehi jivvado swayameva sfuratyada. That when our senses are completely saturated with service, then Krishna, out of his own will, he appears or he chooses to appear in our heart. But for that we have to maintain the purity of our desires. So it is mentioned, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Rupa Shiksha, he says to Rupa Goswami, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavana Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. So after wandering in many species of life, when one comes to human life and one becomes very fortunate, then what happens? He comes in contact with Krishna consciousness movement. And by mercy of Guru and Krishna, one gets this seed, which is like this seed of devotional creeper, which is like impregnation. We can see. Just like a wife is chaste and the husband is capable, then there is union, then there is fruition of that is the impregnation can take place. So similarly, if the disciple is sincere and has pure intentions and the guru is bona fide, then simply by contacting the bona fide spiritual master, hearing his instruction, the heart is impregnated with the seed of devotion. And then what one has to do? Then Mali haya sei bij kare aropan. One has to become like a gardener, plant that seed, And then Shravana Kirtana Jale Karaya Sechan. And then water that seed with Shravana Kirtan, Harinam, Harikatha, and Prabhupada mentions also deity worship. And then what happens is the creeper grows and grows and grows. It goes beyond the Brahmalok, the Brahman effulgence, crosses Vaikuntha, goes to Golok Vrindavan and takes the shelter of lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and there it bears the fruit of prema, like that. But then one has to be very cautious of two things. One is Vaishnava Aparadh, which is like mad elephant, and second is like the weeds of anarthas. So तबे यदि वैष्णव अपराध उठे हाथी माता, उपाड़े वा छिंडे तारा सुखी आए पाता. So if one is not careful and perform Vaishnav aparadh, then such a nicely cultivated devotional creeper will be just uprooted by that mad elephant known as Vaishnava aparadh, and then all that, flowers and budding flowers and the leaves, they will just dry up. So therefore what one should do? Yatna kari mali tara kare samvaran aparadha hastira eche nahai udgam, so that this Vaishnava offense does not take place. And also there is another obstacle in growth of the creeper. What is that? That is kintu yadi latara sange uthe upashakha bhukti mukti spruha yata asankhya tara lekha. So there are the weeds of sense gratification and liberation which may grow with the Bhakti Lata creeper. And Prabhupada mentions sometimes these creepers, these weeds, they look exactly like Bhakti Lata. And one may not be able to distinguish between Anartha Lata Bij and Bhakti Lata Bij. Anartha Lata and Bhakti Lata. And what will Anarthas do? Seka Jala Paya Upashaka Badi Aaye. And what will happen? Mula Shaka Stabda Haya Badi Tena Paya. The creeper which we are supposed to water, that will not get water, and it will just stay wherever. Its growth will be stunted. So therefore, what one should do is Prathamei Upashakar Karaye Shedan. Therefore, these Upashakas, one should destroy them at the very beginning. Tabe Moola Shakha Badi Yai Vrindavan. Then the original branch will successfully reach Vrindavan and bear the fruit of love of Godhead. So what are those different weeds? It is mentioned that Nishiddhachar Kutinati Jiva Hinsana Labh Puja Pratishtadi Upashakha Gana. Nishiddhachar is forbidden activities like the 4 gross sins. That is Nishiddhachar. Kutinati is being duplicitous, not being straightforward in one's dealings with Vaishnavas and even with others, anyone. Jiva Hinsan means killing animals or even giving pain to animals, or even not preaching correctly. That is also Jiva Hinsan. Prabhupada mentions in the purport that not preaching correctly in a sense that not preaching according to how the acharyas have preached, but giving some one's own interpretations, motivating people for more materialism. That is also Jiva Hinsan. And then Puja Labh Pratishtha, profit, adoration, distinction, that I should be having distinct position in the society. So these are all weeds. And once one takes care of them, then one's devotion is pure. Then Shuddha Bhakti haite hai prema utpanna. Atayeva Shuddha Bhaktira karaye lakshana. This Mahaprabhu says. And what is the lakshana of Shuddha Bhakti? Anya Bhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmari Anavratam Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam Bhaktiruttama. So the Uttam Bhakti or Shuddha Bhakti means that not having any other desire, but only desire is to please Krishna, serve Krishna in a favorable way. So yesterday was, I'll just take few more moments. Yesterday was Ayendra Prabhu's disappearance day. So I was just looking up into a dictionary the meaning of Ayendra. and I found very interesting meanings, which I knew earlier also, but I just confirmed it in the dictionary. So one meaning of Aindra is, it is the name of Arjuna. Because he is a portion of Indra, his name is Aindra. So I was just thinking that how Aindra Prabhu emphasized one-pointed devotion, just like Arjuna was one-pointed in his, while he was practicing shooting arrows. Dronacharya asking him, what do you see? So Arjuna says, Arjuna, whose name is also, one of the name is Aindra. He says that I see only the eye of the bird. I don't see the bird, I don't see the tree, I don't see you, I just see eye of the bird. So Aindra Prabhu also, he emphasized on one-pointed attention in pure devotion, like that. Another meaning of Aindra is eastern direction is called Aindra. East, the east direction. And it's very interesting because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives this analogy of allegorical story of Sarvagya, the astrologer, who meets one person who is very miserable and very poor. And he says, why are you miserable? And why are you in poverty? Your father has left buried so much wealth in your courtyard only. You don't have to go wander here and there. So if you dig on the southern direction is known as the fruitive action. Then you will be troubled by honeybees, because every fruitive action there is some problem. There is no happiness enjoying in this world, even up to the stage of Swarga or even Brahma Loka. Brahman bhuvanar loka punaravartino arjuna. And if you dig towards west, it's the path of jnana. Then there will be one black snake of jnana who will devour you. And that black snake of jnana is like consuming black python. He will just consume our whole existence by taking to impersonal jnana or impersonalism. And northern direction is considered yoga, which is compared to yaksha or ghost. One will be ghostly haunted to derive more siddhis and all that. Therefore it is mentioned bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakali ashanta krishna bhakta nishkam atayava shanta. And eastern direction, another meaning of Aindra is eastern direction, represents pure devotion. And if you dig a little in the eastern direction, you will get the wealth, he is saying. And last, one more meaning I found of Aindra is one of the poses of dance in Bharatnatyam. It's a dance posture in traditional Vedic dance. So I found that this is also very interesting, because what Krishna made all the gopis dance in the Rasa Leela, the Siddha devotees, in same way, Lord Chaitanya made all the conditioned souls dance. He said that Yugadharma pravartayamu harinam sankirtan chari bhava bhakti diya nachamu bhuvan. I will make the whole world dance, he says, by harinam sankirtan, by giving them harinam sankirtan. So I thought it is also appropriate that Aindra having the meaning dance posture, because we are supposed to dance and sing and be absorbed. Today morning only I was reading Chaitanya Bhagavat, where Nityananda Prabhu says that sarva karya parihari eteka tomara karya sarva parihari. So your only task is, in Panihatti he is preaching, Lord Nityananda Prabhu. He said your only task is forget about everything else, and what do you do? Nirantara Krishna gao apana pasari. Chant Hare Krishna so much that you forget about yourself. You forget your own existence, like practically speaking. So that's another, I think, how it is suitable or befitting the name Aindra, because he started 24 or re-established 24-hour Kirtan, which is Srila Prabhupada's desire, at least for Vrindavan and Mayapur temples. So I think I will end with this note. And if there is some question, correction, suggestion, I would like to invite.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we were speaking about Bhakti Racha and beads goes together. So when they go together, it looks similar, you say.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a difference.
Hmm.
Now when we are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, when we are observing chanting,
Hmm.
so in that way, how can we find out that the beads and this is going together?
Prabhupada mentions in the same purport that although we may not be able to find out because when we are in trouble or when we are drowning, we need help from outside. But a pure devotee knows, he says, Prabhupada says in the purport that pure devotee can distinguish whether it's a weed or whether it's a devotional creeper. So therefore he mentions that therefore we have to do hearing and chanting under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master and take his instructions time and again and check ourselves, check our attitude and everything with one's spiritual master. And that way, by taking guidance of spiritual master, we will be able to discriminate between what is weed and what is anartha, and what is real devotional service. And also little bit of introspection from our own side is required. Like we are the best, we can say in one sense, knowers of what's going on in our heart, right? So if we do little introspection, we have to be thoroughly honest for that what's my intention behind performing this service? Is it some kind of profit, adoration, distinction, or do I really want to please Guru and Krishna? So like that, if we constantly introspect and at the same time, more importantly, take guidance from pure devotees and Guru and always stay in Vaishnava association, the Vaishnavas will let us know whether we are in right path or not. And Guru Maharaj will, our spiritual master will let us know about that. Hare Krishna.
One small example I give. Just like if I get enemy, so just I was reading Bhagavad Gita. If you get enemy, you think that any of your karmas are not good, that's why I'm enemy. So I make myself understand if any enemy is there, I make understand that they are.
Come again, the enemies, you think there are some enemies then?
There are some enemies are there.
Okay, yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. That's if somebody is actually speaking, one should follow the example of Yudhishthir Maharaj, who was like Ajata Shatru. Ajata Shatru means he was well-wisher of everyone, even of Duryodhan. Of course, he took the right step when it was needed, like practical step of engaging war against the Kauravas, like that. But still at the same time, he was always very compassionate towards Duryodhan. Even then, what to speak of? We need to. We should think in this way that if I am being tolerated for my faults by Krishna, then I should tolerate if it is about Vaishnavas. If I see some, let's say, lacuna or some problem with some devotee, then we should be more than willing to be his well-wisher. That's what my little understanding is. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So thank you so much. So we'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.